type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio, and I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, we'll review the week, some of the things we'll be looking at. Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi and First Lady Janet Museveni, Minister for Karamoja, interface with PSC, the Public Council Committee of Parliament, both deny allegations made against them, saying they are innocent and they did not touch any money. Mbabazi was partly accused of diverting the 600 million shillings from the PRDP budget, that's for the Northern Uganda reconstruction, so he could buy himself a nice car. He said it didn't cost that much, it cost less than 400 million shillings. Janet Museveni, the First Lady, Minister of Karamoja, was asked to explain 9 private trips to Israel. She said, in fact, she only made 1. We'll look about that. Marriage and divorce bill. President Museveni is supposed to be meeting NRM MPs at State House to discuss this marriage and divorce bill. Why all the fire? What does it mean? We have a lawyer in the house to tell us about that. The state of security in Uganda. Reports of gun violence have gone up, taking into consideration recent attacks on police and army installations. Recently, 10 people were killed by a UPDF soldier, apparently, in Buya, the former military headquarters. We'll look at that. The 10 people were killed in Bombo, the former military headquarters, but before that, there was an attack on the current army headquarters near Buya. In Entebbe, a police post was also attacked and a gun went missing. Speculators have said that some people with sinister motives trying to push the country into panic. We'll look at those things as well as the Kenyan polls. Raila Odinga has decided to go to court, but is going around holding public rallies. Yesterday, he was heard saying that criminals cannot be allowed to stay in the Kenyan State House. Strong words there. President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto are receiving congratulatory messages meantime from all over the place, East Africa, in the region and internationally as well. We're going to look at that as well. Our guest, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant and a social and political analyst. You're most welcome, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo.
Thank you very much. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to all the listeners and to all the viewers.
Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also a lecturer on Peace and Security Studies at Makerere. You're most welcome, Dr. Arthur.
Thank you. Good evening, dear listeners and viewers, and my colleagues at the panel.
Also, Mr. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House. You're most welcome to Spectrum tonight. We also expect to be joined by Hon Lydia Wanyoto, a two-time Ugandan Representative at the East African Parliament, very fresh from monitoring the Kenyan elections. Nicholas Opiyo, maybe Charles Rwomushana, the First Lady and the Prime Minister are both innocent. They met the Public Council Committee and they say they have that, their hands are clean. So who really is guilty?
One, the money was stolen. That's an established fact. Two, they all agree that Kazimba, who is on trial, did a lot of things. Because if you see the way he's been testifying, even the PS, now, but there are some that are culpable, and I would want to zero so much on. I don't understand that thing of Karamoja. In any case, if the Karamoja had problems, there are even bigger problems than what was raised here. If you look at the roads, remember there is when we had discussions with the MPs from Karamoja.
Yes, I do.
Now, what intrigues me most is the defense of Hon Lydia Wanyoto on why he objected to the transfer of Kazinda. And he said that it looked suspicious. They didn't give him enough time to hand over the Prime Minister of the Republic. And you are intervening because they have given 4 or 5 hours for an officer to hand over. You should have called for more time for Kazinda to hand over. If you are dissecting his defense, you should have called for more time. Say, give Kazinda 10 years to hand over, but not that don't transfer him. And I find that extremely very interesting. I've argued before. I continue to have to argue the same today, that Kazinda was merely an agent. Oh, yes, in this fundraising, because I've never believed this was theft. I never believed this was stealing. This was fundraising. He was merely an agent. But these are the mistakes they have been making. When they do so, they talk. They show it. When you are doing these kind of operations and fundraising, you are supposed to be quiet. You don't embarrass your masters. The moment you embarrass your masters, then you go in the process of cleaning. And it's even a wastage of public funds that these fellows should be called to testify. Cleaning which name? Money is stolen. That's an established fact. Now, do you want to say that the money that was stolen in the Prime Minister's office was only stolen by Kazina? All those billions of money, and you think you will be treated the way is being treated? Hakuna, that can't be. So he was an agent. With whom did he do it? And where the beneficiaries? I have been carrying out some studies there. There is a brief he wrote. Kazina wrote some document. What did he? And it was intercepted at Parliament there, and it has gone missing. What did he say? I would steal from here, and it would go here, and it would go here, and it would go here. But, yeah, he was sending it to those black people, and it was intercepted at Parliament, and it went missing. Actually, yes, and by one of those, but let's go slow. You know, the truth rushes. It moves slowly, but it runs. With time, we will know these things, like the way we are knowing Amin's things. When we get to know them, we shall know. It doesn't matter when we shall know. We know when we are extremely very aged, those will be lucky to be there, but we will know that this was a fundraising, this was not a system. Because there is no you can steal these billions of money. The system is very robust.
Nicholas Opiyo, who is guilty in this whole saga?
First, I think the determination of guilt or innocence is beyond the remit of Parliament. Parliament cannot determine guilt. I think that the role of Parliament does not extend to finding guilt or innocence. Guilt or innocence is determined by a court of law. It's only the courts that can declare you guilty. So, as to who is guilty, who is not guilty, we'll wait and see if the courts will have a chance to pronounce themselves on it. But I think importantly, even before you look at the testimony of the Prime Minister and the First Lady, the context and background to this, how we got here, is important. Government, as part of ensuring value for money, agreed that value for money audits will be done for all government ministries. When it was time for the Prime Minister's office to go through a value for money audit by the Auditor General, it took 8 months of the Deputy Auditor General asking the PS for documents to carry out a value for money audit. The PS, on all occasions, I've seen letters in which he gives excuses. My accountant has gone to Nairobi, my accountant is sick, my accountant is wherever it is. Now, because time was running out and the AG becoming suspicious, he then invoked his powers under the AG Act to compulsorily enforce this guy to give information. What do? They do not give information to the AG's office. They rush to CID to report a case of theft. Anybody,
they blow the whistle.
Anybody looking at this, how events unfolded, would definitely cannot help but get the feeling somebody was hiding something. And who is this? The people who are in charge of information, the PS, the boss, the ministers, the PM. How they then sidestep the office of the Auditor General and then begin to give information to the CID, who then instructs the Auditor General to do an audit report, is, in my view, suspicious. And I think that MPs have lost sight of the fact of that context. Secondly, as Charles said, money was lost, money was stolen. Much in the same way money was stolen in the Gavi case, the Ministry of Health. Just how state institutions cannot find who stole it is amazing. I think Ugandans are being taken for a huge ride, in the sense that money is stolen, but the person who stole it we just can't find. Eugene Muhezi was let free, now Mukula has been let free, whoever it was let free.
One confession.
There's only one confession, Alice Kaboyo.
And she was forgiven.
She was not forgiven. She actually was sentenced to a fine, and she paid 20 million shillings. You know, so just how we can't find who stole money, and this is not just 10,000 shillings that can fall off your wallet. It's billions of shillings. I think that something has got to be done. significant so that we know exactly what is happening. Thirdly, I think the appearance of the Prime Minister before Park was significant in two ways. First, it did test just how prepared MPs are to try and go to the depths of this, because for a long time, many of our MPs play to the gallery. They are happy to speak to the microphone when the press is there and lose sight of the very important fact and questions they must ask in this kind of investigations. And the Prime Minister, being a very smart fellow, definitely did outsmart them, because when somebody then takes responsibility and say, I take political responsibility, he essentially has disempowered Parliament. He was somebody who has said, we take responsibility. You know, what then can Parliament do? He has accepted responsibility, but he doesn't just accept responsibility for his office, but for the entire failure of government. For me, that is disempowering. It rendered the MPs really, you know, just going through a process.
Doctor.
Thank you very much. I think my colleagues really have handled this issue. I think what is at issue for me now is to the issue why I support the Prime Minister is that actually the issue.
Why you support the Prime Minister?
His argument about whether Kazinda should have been transferred or should have been interdicted. I think his argument that then why do you transfer a thief to another place to do the similar harm, and to that extent. But I think now we're also actually going around circles and missing the point. I think, one, the Prime Minister should take political responsibility, because in both cases, and of course Rwomushana has been he's chickened out very tactfully. I think what we are lacking in the
chicken out.
Yeah, I know, I can see he's taking one direction. But I think what we lack in this country is political responsibility.
Yes.
I think time has to come when the leaders in this country holding the highest offices must take political responsibility.
The Prime Minister just did.
And no, he didn't. I mean, has he resigned? Has he stepped?
You want the Prime Minister to resign?
I mean, yeah, we need to see that. No, I'm not.
He said
the need for leaders occupying these high offices to step aside and come back. You know, we still have to use Watengura's position.
Amos
Watengura in Kenya, the foreign minister, he stepped aside and came back stronger. So I think you see people struggling to remain in those offices when so much damage has been done. So they want us actually to explain this thing away and move away. Then how do we fight corruption seriously? So I think, secondly, I think now as I want to agree with Rwomushana, you can try to suffocate the truth, but the truth will always prevail.
You think it behaves like oil?
It will always troop out and will prevail, but it can be delayed. So, but I think we need seriousness in the fight against corruption. We need people taking responsibility. We need also seriously. I think the process, PAC must conclude its process, and I think court action will begin.
Very briefly, Charles, before we move on to something else. Is corruption rising or is it falling? People have been saying
this is not corruption. Because somebody who is supposed to be in the custody of money simply takes it. What would you call it? Would you call, if you bought food for your children,
yes,
and you stole, and you go and eat it, you stole it, would you call that one stealing? It's stealing. It's shameful, fine, because it's abuse of trust. There is no way, I know our system, this government system, the financial systems. There is no you can steal up to 10, 20, 30, 100, 200, 500 billion shillings and take it. It's not possible for money to move from you maneuver finance, you maneuver Bank of Uganda, billions of money go on your account in a commercial bank. You can't even, by the way, now these days, even with 200 million shillings on your account, if it runs there, you must explain. So there is no way you can have 500 billion shillings on your account and you access it from a commercial bank. It's not possible. That commercial bank would close. The Bank of Uganda would close it. It's not possible. Like there is what I saw in the newspaper that they gave someone an overdraft of around 15 billion, about 10 billion shillings on this product they are talking about, which was
that is not supposed to happen.
It can't happen. You can't have an overdraft of about 10 billion.
You can only lend.
Yes, I'm talking about an overdraft. I'm not talking about a loan. This is just an overdraft.
It's also covered under that law.
Yeah, but how can you have an overdraft of about 10 billion shillings? Yes.
25 billion is the new threshold for banks.
Yes. So
they're not supposed to lend you.
So therefore, a bank that allowed an account of 50 billion brewing to a ship and it has already been discovered and it's still operating, then you realize that the entire thing is official.
Let's have a specific response to what Edmond has asked, that this corruption becoming a much more serious problem. I think what has happened is that we now agree, as Charles has said, that corruption is a tool for regime maintenance. The cost of that maintenance has become so high.
Because you see, the other thing is, I said it here, let me say this, that the police...
Time is up, I'm the timekeeper now. Let's talk about the marriage and divorce bill. MPs were set on recess, Dr. Arthur, until the 2nd of April to consult constituents on this bill. It's being consolidated. Before we had the marriage bill and the divorce bill, they're putting them together. President Museveni is supposed to be meeting MPs from his political party. Why is there so much flabbergasted about this? How deficient is this bill, and what should we have?
I think the bill has provides for some of the important issues, and I would support some of the president's proposals. For instance, the whole protection of women against marital rape, I think, is very, very important. Women should be protected against marital rape. Sharing of marital property, the dissolution of marriage, I think, for me, that's important as the president. What actually I don't agree with is the whole thing that actually that the president wants religious leaders to consider changing vows made in church, suggesting that some suggest
you can't do that. They're written in the Bible.
I think now that is also overstepping the boundaries of a president or the government into the church. I think marriage, Uganda, first of all, you know, is a very religious and a Christian country,
90%.
because even
we're not a Christian country. We are actually a secular nation.
We are a Christian country, and what does our motto say?
For God and my country.
For God and my country. So
the national anthem repeats.
Even the national anthem, I think the president should do.
Which Nicholas sings very often. Go on.
Yeah. So, but I think that we need to be careful that this marriage and divorce bill doesn't actually cause instability in families, doesn't infringe on the sanctity of the marriage, the institution of the marriage, because the Africans actually have survived because of strong families, strong marriages. I have a fit, and that's actually explains how we've been able to survive HIV/AIDS, wiping out the older people, but the children have been taken over by the guardians in families and have grown up. So we need to be careful, not actually to just, because I see this marriage and divorce bill is quoted with a lot of Western culture.
Have you read the bill?
Go on.
Let me first, because I think that you have topic. The point is the whole bill is surrounded by the Western culture, and I think if we are not careful, we could actually destabilize the sanctity of the marriage, the stability of the families, and the erosion of the African family. So the whole culture dimension of our families must be protected. But the truth of the matter is that we have grown. We cannot resist change. Issues of marital rape, issues of domestic violence, issues of sharing of resources on the solution of the marriage. If it completely cannot work, because
let's talk about it clearly. You want when people separate. Well, cohabitation. Give us your position on cohabitation. Should it?
No, I don't support cohabitation. That is
secondly, marital rape. How much time should a man get for marital rape? And how much time in jail should a man get for marital rape? What should be the sanction? And secondly, do you think it might be abused by some women to get even up with against their husbands?
I'll pass that one to my brother. I was not married.
All right, you talk about it. Let's talk briefly before we move forward.
Yes.
Talk to us about. All right. Talk to us about. Talk to us a little bit about sharing of resources. Talk about sharing of resources.
Should the marriage irretrievably break down? I think, of course, and to be honest, I have discovered from experience that when a man and a wife and a woman come together, the wealth creation actually increases. It multiplies, and then of course sometimes then men a man may grab another woman and then start sharing these resources. I think the woman needs to be, protected.
Nicholas Opiyo. Well, listeners, we've just been this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're reviewing the week. We've just been talking about the Prime Minister, Mama Mbabazi, and the First Lady appearing before Park. Right now we're talking about the marriage and divorce bill. MPs have been settled. President Museveni is meeting MPs at State House. That's how important this matter is. Our guest, Dr. Bainomugisha, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, Mr. Charles Rwomushana. Now we've just been joined by Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, two-time Ugandan Representative at the East African Parliament, and now very fresh from monitoring the Kenyan elections. You're most welcome, Honorable Lydia.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners. Habari za jioni. Anza masiku mingi.
We heard from you, spoke to us from Nairobi, and that was very interesting. Nicholas Opiyo, talk to us about this divorce and marriage.
I have extensively engaged with people, including MPs, who have been discussing this bill. The amazing thing about 90% of all of them is that they haven't read the bill from close to close. Because if you actually go back and read this bill, you will see a lot of things that are already in practice that are simply being codified. I practice before the court, and sometimes I do domestic law. A lot of things about property sharing, things about duration before one applies for divorce, are already rules of practice before court, established by court decisions. So I don't know why there's all this noise about it. Secondly, I think that it's merely codification. It's just codification. And if you're codifying what is already there...
Explain codification. Is this consolidation? What is codification?
What you're doing is that over time, cases before courts have given rise to what they call a common law principle applied in Uganda for every marriage, really, every situation. But for example, if you want to apply for divorce, you must have at least been married for 2 years.
You must have been married for 2 years?
Yes. You can't marry today and seek divorce tomorrow.
You have to wait 2 years?
Absolutely not.
And there was that provision that after you have to have separated for about 6 months, which is supposed to be...
What actually happens is that the law as they are, as it is now, before one is granted divorce, is granted what they call a decree nisi.
Yes.
A decree nisi, the notion behind a decree nisi is to give the parties the possibility of reconsidering their marriage, of reconciling.
Yes.
It is not necessarily a prerequisite for divorce, but really a chance to give the parties a chance to, patch up. Then if you fail to patch up after 6 months, then either one of you can go back to court and apply for what they call a decree absolute, really saying it's closed and gone. But even then, in the 6 month period, you're still not considered husband and wife. The marriage is automatic. It's obviously the divorce is granted, but you're given a chance to, try and just patch it up.
Fall in love again.
Thirdly, I think all of us believe in equality of men and women before, during, and after marriage. Now, if that is a principle which is espoused in Article 31 of our Constitution, we therefore should not in any way think that this bill is an attempt to try and get women over men. It's not about men and women, it's about equality of all in marriage. And I can tell you this.
But maybe you need to tell us why it's the women who are pushing for this. What is the motivation?
Well, I'm not a woman. I'm pushing for it.
You'll never be.
Yeah, I'll never be, never will be. The point is that we believe in that equality. If we believe in that equality, then we must address the historical imbalance that we have visited upon our mothers and sisters in institutions of marriage, both in terms of inheritance, property, name it. The patriarchal nature of our society, and understand where we come from. It's difficult to change. That patriarchal nature needs to be dismantled, and women given their right place in marriage. I think that it's not about women or men, it's about equality. And if you believe in equality, then you have to support this bill.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We'll come back to talk about this a little bit in more detail. Just stay tuned.
So I'm chilling at home with my crew. The boys are waiting to watch the game on the telly, but the chicks want to go to the beach. So how do we play it? A glance across the room. Eye contact is made. A plan is hatched. Pete will get some sand. Lots of it. Jeff will take care of the deco, Tim the entertainment, and I the clubs. And so we bring the beach to the apartment. If we can't go to the beach, we bring the beach to us. It's just how we do.
It's not about where you're at. It's the difference you bring. Get a fresh take on things. Club is brewed longer for easier drinking. Brewed slower for great taste. Club, tastefully different. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Uganda Communications Commission is currently conducting nationwide mandatory SIM card registration. Register your SIM card in a few easy steps. Visit your telecom operator's customer care center or any other designated registration center and provide your phone number, a copy of a valid ID or any other valid ID with accompanying photograph such as a passport, driver's permit, voter's card, or a letter from your LC. Information on your physical address or residence will also be required. SIM card registration protects mobile phone users from incidences of fraud, incitement, terrorism, and hate messages, among others. Please note that SIM card registration is mandatory, and those who fail to register risk having their SIM cards deactivated. All information shall remain confidential. Let's make communication safe. Register your SIM card today.
Let the sunlight in.
Good morning, sunshine of my life. You look happy today.
I am. I came in here and I saw there was a whole pile of washing to do.
But I thought you didn't like doing the washing.
No, I love it. Anything else you need wash?
Sunlight 2-in-1 with added fabric softener. Smells so good, you want to use it again and again.
Let the sunlight in.
Sunlight 2-in-1. Sunlight clean, sunlight fresh.
Sunlight in. Happiness is all around. Let the sunlight in.
Excuse me, what is this 300 shillings on my bill for?
That is for the tinted candles, madam.
And this 100 shillings?
That is for the air conditioning.
And this 200 shillings?
For the blue walls, ma'am.
I can't believe this!
Why pay for what you don't use or ask for? That's why we at Standard Chartered are introducing the Easy Go account, the first current account of its kind that gives you complete control of your banking charges. For more details, visit a Standard Chartered branch or call 0414-340077.
Would you like to leave me a tip, please?
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. We're reviewing the week. We're talking about the Public Accounts Committee and the appearance of the Prime Minister, Amama Mbabazi, John Patrick, and the First Lady, Janet Museveni. We've spoken a little bit about the marriage and divorce bill. We'll talk about the state of security in Uganda. 3 attacks, ostensible attacks. The police supposed military barracks, military headquarters, and a former military headquarters. And the Kenyan polls. We have someone who was at the helm of it, watching the elections from the sidelines. Our guest in the Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, social and political party, Dr. Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also lecturer in Makerere of the same, Hon Lydia Wanyoto, 2-time Ugandan Representative of the East African Parliament, just returned from monitoring the Kenyan elections, and Mr. Rwomushana, former head of the political intelligence. We might not be able to call him tonight, but you can send a text message to 7197. That is, type the word Spectrum, message, question, or comment, send to 7197 or on to our Facebook page. Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, the marriage and divorce bill.
The divorce and marriage bill.
Talk to us about what are your views on that. Talk to us about cohabitation. What should we do about cohabitation? Talk to us about sharing of marital wealth, matrimonial wealth. Talk to us about that, and talk to us about matrimony. Only those 3 points, madam.
This bill has more than 100 clauses, and most of them are very progressive and productive clauses. They have actually collapsed matters of marriage into one piece of legislation, which is going to be useful for the users, but also for the strength and the welfare of our families. I appreciate the debate on table because out of the so many clauses, about 4 or 5 are not yet appreciated by many people, and I like the decision by Parliament to go and do more consultations, and because it is a bill before Parliament, some of them can be reviewed and others they can be struck out, and that's the way the law writing process goes. But I am impressed by the interest that this bill has attracted, because it is good. It is good for Ugandans to know what Parliament is doing and to view their opinions. I've just come from Kalungu. I was the guest of honor on the Women's Day district celebrations. It was a big issue in that
marriage and divorce.
Yeah, the debate, and people are raising. And yesterday I was in Buhweju for the same occasion, and deep in the communities, people are raising issues of how are they going to share property. the dissolution of the whatever they are asking about. Yeah, it has dissolved to 4 clauses: issues of property and dissolution of marriage, issues of
cohabitation.
First of all, they can't understand what this thing called marital rape is about. There's an issue of marital rape. Yeah, they can't understand the issue of marital rape. They're asking, what is this animal you're talking about? Then there are issues of bride price. I've picked that as well from there. They're saying, how can you just take my daughter like you have bought bananas from the garden, whatever. So then they create a conversation on why you think that they're important, and that how it's issues of our values and community and culture. So I've picked those 4, and as our colleagues go out to consult people, they need to explain them and to see whether, why or not, there is the issue of cohabitation. First of all, many of them want to understand what is cohabitation. What is this animal you are calling cohabitation? And cohabitation is if I have a relationship, I want to say God forbid, with just Rwomushana, and it is not blessed by any legal relationship. It's not blessed by any formal relationship, but after some time, the bill is talking about when now we want to separate and we've been living together and maybe even we have children for a period of time. Then there are issues of separation. There is a mention of property we've had together, or property we've shared. In a relationship that is cohabitation, that has no legal basis at all. So that's a question also in the community, at least where I've been for the last 2-3 days. And therefore, for me, it is not a do or die. It's neither here or there. I think that Ugandans have a right to be explained to and to ask those questions. And I hope that I heard Nico say that members of parliament have not read this law, this bill. We took a lot of time calling meetings for this bill. As one of the consultants for this bill, we did a lot of calling, but I think maybe they were busy. Some of them came, but we had so many meetings to take them clause by clause, and even through the relevant committees of parliament, the committee that is responsible for gender, the legal committee. So don't ask. Let me finish. So for me, if Nicholas is saying that members of parliament have not read the bill, I don't know. I do not agree, because the time has been put, and I think now, well, now they have no choice. They have to read, because they have to go back to their voters and explain it.
What is marital rape?
And I think, as I conclude on this, I think we have an opportunity as Uganda to express the people, because the bill, the way I'm hearing it in the community, that's how I understand it. And therefore, it's good for MPs to go and explain what is it that we mean by these 4 clauses, at least that I have picked from the community.
I will just put it this. One, that the bill was brought to divert debate. Because there were issues, there were very critical issues then, the death of Nebanda, corruption, and many more others, now insecurity. So to divert the debate, the minds of very simple people, you take them into this business, rape, sharing property, etc. 2, so marriage builds organized societies, and societies with value. You go and check.
With value or with values?
Society with value or values. Yes. And that's how our forefathers were able to build these societies. Now, if you want to manipulate society today and in the future, and if you want to usurp people's power, then you destroy the institutions of marriage. And the entire objective of this is to destroy marriage. And so on. That's why now the thinking is you go into marriage to get wealth. Then, now, how do you stand, for instance, in court with your wife, before your children, to testify that you raped? Now imagine. Now, actually, let's use the first family. Let's use the example. Let's use the example of the first family. The president had some breaking the news. I mean, we should have the family. They are the family. Let me use yours. Let's use mine. And you are standing before your children. They are in the gallery, and you are saying, how did he do it? Why do you think it's a rape? You see, he touched me here, he touched me here, he touched me there. This is nuisance. Now, now, which MP, among these ladies in parliament, these honorable MPs of women, the women, whom among them would you want your daughter to emulate? These ones who are pushing for this thing. Whom would you say, if you have a daughter you love most, whom would you say that my daughter emulate these ones? Any of those women. Choose one, and you say you recommend her to be emulated by your daughter. So,
I could just stand a bit.
Before you personal. I mean,
well,
I urge men.
All right, okay. Let's get some, with my rudimentary knowledge of the law, it is presupposed that there are instances where a man cannot testify against his wife because they're supposed to be one person. Explain that a little bit, very briefly, before we move forward.
Well, under the a spouse is not a compellable witness against the other.
Yes.
You can't compel a spouse. Whereas I can compel anybody else who's not my spouse. It is the only witness to testify against me.
Right.
A spouse is not a compellable witness, but a spouse can testify against the other if they choose to do so.
They choose. You can't.
But I think the point that needed to be made is you can say the same things about Charles. Charles has been many things. Why would I want to believe Charles given what he's done? But to do that is to shoot the messenger, not hear the message.
Yes.
I think Charles is being grossly unfair to our 100 members of parliament who are ladies.
All right.
Irrespective of what they are in private lives or what they are not, I think the message is very clear. Let's discuss the message, not discuss this.
This is a very sensitive matter.
This is a very sensitive matter.
This is a very sensitive matter. Yes, this is a very sensitive matter, and I want to agree with Rwomushana. If the sellers, if the promoters of this marriage are not people of reputation, and again, so the point is because of our survival, the need to survive as a nation, as African people, we need to be very careful, and I want to agree with you, Nicholas, that it's dangerous to overlegislate over marriage.
Let's move forward. Nicholas, Charles Rwomushana, let's talk about the state of security. We've heard about gun violence, rising, recent attacks.
Because marriage is more about security than anything else, actually.
Police and other installations have been attacked. Bombuya and in Entebbe. What's your reading?
It's a problem of accountability.
What do you mean?
It's the duty of the president as commander-in-chief of the republic to account. This business of telling us that they went to grab one gun from Mumbuya. Really? One gun? Then if it's grabbing one gun, the quota gun, why do you have to jail all these former commanders of the way they are parading them? Things are serious.
What do you mean?
Things are serious. You see, if there is no, you can say one soldier shot 10 people, and in each dead body is 3 bullets. It's not technically possible. But then they remain there. They were crying like kids when you are shooting them. Was he executing? Was it even firing squad? Because even if it is firing squad, those who have had an AK-47, it's not easy even to get target. So if you analyze this, if you analyze this, you really say it was a big group. Just analysis alone, big group that you got. If you want guns to grab guns, you have to go to Mbuya with all these policemen walking around, very drunk, sleeping on 9 nails. That if you want, even if it was even the escorts of Kayura, you can even go and grab guns from them and you go. You have to go to that such a huge installation, Mbuya. And then there was also one gun grabbed in Entebbe. All of those police stations, you got that, have they defended the police station to grab one gun, and they took it, and then there was also ginger. Therefore, robbers are looking for guns. Why didn't they do it during Kahanja's time? Now, you wait. You see, history is written by the victor. Somebody in the picture will say, you see, when we attacked Mbuya,
Nicholas Opiyo.
Like the word they were saying on Kabam.
Nicholas Opiyo, talk to us about these attacks.
And for instance, here,
yes,
there is a newspaper called Dynasty.
Yes.
It says ADF Mbuya attack targeted.
What does it mean?
That they in other words, they are reading even into the mind of the attackers.
Yes.
That all that you are looking for is data in the books of the military codes, military messages and codes. Now, because you are not explaining the population, you leave a vacuum and it's being exploited by the media. And of course, as you are doing manipulation, like if you have read the red paper, that the attacker has now confessed. Extremely very ridiculous.
What's your reading yourself? Oh, well, you've already said that. Let's not hear. Nicholas Opiyo, what's your reading of this whole thing?
All seem not to be well. Let's agree that something just doesn't seem to be right. I took a trip to Karamoja some time back, about 2 weeks ago, and I drove through being, to Kotido, came through Lira, almost to Kampala, and did have soldiers in my car. I insisted that they should remove their uniforms and their guns and put them in the boot if I would give them a lift. And they agreed to do that. But I big ranks actually. Along the way, we engaged in a very serious discussion. And what you seem to hear is that all is not well, and that we are not being told the entire truth. I think that the actions of the army spokesperson, the Minister of Defense, and Kale Gahura giving us contradictory statements, in my view, speaks volumes of what's not happening. I think what is actually the case, it could be either of two things. One, a very carefully planned decoy to try and either launch an operation to get money to do something, which is unlikely. So, second theory could be a building up of an internal disgruntlement and mutiny within the army.
Explain to us, the army commander, the chief of defense force, I keep changing those names, said the other day that the army could intervene. Is this what he was predicting?
Far from it. These are two different contexts. I think his statement and the one of Kionga were in different contexts, was in reference to parliament. That intervention he meant wasn't this intervention that is happening, unless of course you have evidence otherwise. But what I think is this, that what is happening is a sign of bigger things, and we've got to be careful. We can either alarm the public by saying lots of things here, or actually urge the army to tell us the truth.
Dr. Arthur, before you hear from
I think, of course, I wouldn't want to take what Rwomushana has said. I think what the security agencies have told us is what is professionally correct.
Yes.
Why should they alarm the public and cause that panic? In any case, this country, the political history of this country is full of this kind of things. We have not forgotten, unless people have short memories, that there have been a lot of groups attempting to overthrow especially this government since 1986. Actually, the last time we counted, there were 27
for every year.
Yeah, now I think this could be a 28th, and I think it will not prevail, because anybody, in my view, this country has gone beyond the possibility of any one group using armed struggle to overthrow it. I think, but there will be those people.
Say that again. You're speaking as one with authority.
Yes. Let me tell you, I think we've gone beyond that. Really, from the security perspective, there is that culture.
What hat are you?
There is a culture. There is a precedent of people taking power here through armed struggle, and there are some elements that think that is through the past, but actually it's a wrong past, and I think Uganda has gone beyond that one. So what we are saying here, disappointed people, of course, who are attempting to capture power, but I think and there are also entrepreneurs of violence. I think what this country has
got a lot of concern. If someone wants to take power and they can hit the capital, that's not a simple thing.
Yeah, you see, these people may even be within and the system.
Could be an enemy.
Yeah, they could be enemies within. But the point is that actually they will fail, and I think the government has gone away
from ACODE. Honorable
from ACODE.
The recent attacks, I've been listening to messages from official, and the ones that have more analytical spinning, like the ones of Charles Rwomushana. What we want to see as Ugandans is we want to see, we want to live in peace, and we want to move beyond the threat of the gun.
Yeah.
Because really people that have guns in Uganda should be known. They are known actually, because you cannot just walk to a supermarket on the street and buy a gun.
No,
and even the bullets, I mean, if you know how many people can access Nakasongola or wherever to get bullets. So this, for me, I think this can be explained well, but those that are responsible should be able to explain better. Recently, you saw some soldiers shoot people in Bombo.
Charles Rwomushana
those are some of the things that we can't explain, but we need to
get to the depth of it.
You see, when a mushroom is getting off the soil, mushroom, it creates shards.
Which mushroom?
A mushroom.
They are poisonous.
No, the other thing, the mushroom, it creates some shari, a crack.
Yes.
You may ignore the size.
But the mushroom will come.
Yeah. But when it comes, it comes.
Can't it come?
So let's see how the mushroom gets out, because it has created a crack.
Talking about the mushroom.
Yeah, but I think and something very small.
On the mushroom.
But I think what we see now, of course, is frustration of some of the people on our democratization process. And this is the point we are talking about. Deepening democracy and taking some of these reforms may actually dissuade people from pursuing that path of armed struggle to pursue the political process.
It's always about democracy.
Let's move forward.
That's narrow. It can be opportunities, it can be frustration, it can be another thing. This guy, how political is he?
Talk to us about the Kenyans. Raila Odinga has gone to court, but he's been holding public rallies, saying he's also been hard, saying that criminals cannot be allowed to stay in the Kenyan State House. Kenyatta, Uhuru are also being congratulated. So what's going to happen? You just came from here monitoring this election before you came back to address this country. Talk to us about Kenya.
The Kenyans went to polls on the 4th of March. Actually, here, even in Uganda, they were voting. So I congratulate Kenya for having had a peaceful process, but very competitive. This election, I would like to invite everybody to have an interest in it because, one, President Kibaki was retiring and there was no incumbent in the race. Number two, it was very close to call, to the extent everybody knew that there was going to be a rerun. But you know, Uhuru, like they say, did not choose to be born in State House. This guy maybe has just luck on his side. So he pulled off on a very narrow margin.
4,000.
Yeah, very narrow margin. I appreciate what Right Honorable Raila Odinga is doing and where he's coming from, because everybody went to win that election. But the best option he had done for East Africa and for the region is to go to court to seek redress on areas he thought. No, I mean he's aggrieved. We've had a history where people don't want to go to court. So at least I will applaud him for taking the option of going to court, so that East Africa remains peaceful, but also Kenya remains peaceful. I don't read so much into the verbal utterances. I think it's only natural. That's up for me to manage their feelings and emotions. But what is fundamental is what the legal process they have taken. Let them go to court and let's see how court pronounces. Technically, their time frames is just going to be just 14 days. So, and the judiciary is ready. It is reformed, and we hope that after 14 days, Right Honorable Raila Odinga will be heard on the merits of his case, and then Kenya and East Africa will move on, because really we are one people.
Yeah,
that's what I can say.
I think I want to disagree with my sister when she passes a verdict that the Kenyan election was very peaceful, because 19 people lost their lives and they were not.
It was largely peaceful.
Because they were not. You see, they don't value life. 19 people lose their lives. My sister. Yeah. The point is, I think if with Kenya still stuck in the mud, with Raila Odinga still organizing rallies, it's going to court, but he's also organizing rallies. Those rallies actually could galvanize the momentum for violence. So I think one needs to.
You are speculating.
To every carpenter, every problem is a nail, and you've got to nail it. And give it to us already. He's a conflict specialist. He sees conflict in everything. We were here before elections. Conflict specialist. And we were here before elections.
Would you have to defend yourself? You agree with that? I don't agree with that.
That the conflict specialist will see conflict in everything. A conflict specialist would want to create peace, not conditions of peace. So, but you also see the rudder.
On this particular show, and when same seat, Dr. Arthur sat in the same seat and told listeners that people are stockpiling machetes, guns,
the Kenyan High Commissioner
violence.
It is the Kenyan High Commissioner, my brother, who said that.
Can I just finish? All of that now has turned out to be
the Kenyan High Commissioner actually actually say that.
Okay.
Not Dr.
No, I heard it from him. I didn't hear it from High
He
Commissioner.
actually said it had it.
On this show.
High Commission.
He hyped it here and said there'll be violence in the same scale. In the same scale. But what is actually true is that what is happening in Kenya is actually revolutionary in many senses. Because whether the Chief Justice wears a red underwear or
Probably the only one in the world wears an earring.
that's your problem. That's your moral problem. What I see in the Chief Justice is a good judiciary. Judiciary.
The one that hangs.
But he was warned
Nicholas?
by Mungichi.
That's really not what I want to discuss. But the point that I want to make is that the Kenyan judiciary is a very good judiciary that has been revamped. We have hopes in that judiciary that judiciary will deliver justice for Kenya.
Charles Rwomushana.
I'm really interested in studying how this election was rigged. To have the other mathematics of 50% plus one vote. You know, the way they rigged it. I'm interested in the science of that rigging. How you rig it.
Wait for the court decision.
How you rig it and you get 50% and then you add one vote. So as to avoid the second round. See, I was mentoring the way the results were coming in. All areas, the areas that Raila Odinga won, the registered voters, the registered voters were around 30,000, 40,000.
Yes.
And then the returns from Uhuru side, where he also won overwhelmingly, it was always around 77.
Those are heavily populated constituents.
Yeah, you see, that is
register was very clear and public.
That is the science. You see, I have followed this competitive politics, where the opposition is opposition areas are less registered. They are less registered than the other. Now the other initially, Ruto was against counting, considering spoiled ballots in establishing the 50%.
Yes.
And later on, and you know they were on the rise. Actually, the spoiled ballot papers were almost beating the third candidate.
Yes. At some point they did.
Yes, they were beating the third candidate. And now on realizing that phenomenon of spoiled ballot papers was going to cause the second round, all of a sudden they evaporated. I'm also interested.
It was going to cause a political crisis.
Now the third one, Raila's agents were chased from the verification of the results that came from upcountry. Because that was their request. Before you announce, let's verify why these results that have come from the villages. They chased them. And they had it from Ruzumbra because my agents were chased.
If you allow me, I could give you a formula.
We have to go. Thank you very much, dear guest. Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the People Security Program at ACODE, also lecturer at Makerere. Thank you for coming to Spectrum. Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant and commentator. Hon Lydia Wanyoto, thank you for coming. Two-time representative, fresh from the Kenyan election where she was monitoring and heading 3 groups. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Kizito. Spectrum will be back on Monday. Have a very good weekend.
Everything in life has to be worked for. Success, happiness. But there's some things you just cannot work for. Like trust. You don't apply for it. And you most definitely don't study for it. No, you earn it. Which is exactly what Roofing's iron sheets do. They conform to superior world standards so you can trust their quality. They come in a wide range of colors so you can trust their variety. They are customized